Hi, this is the Maverick artist Victor Hugo reporting modern art gonzo journalism for the modern art music movement. It is June 16th, 2025, reporting from the former Soviet Union, Republic of Georgia, near the border with Russia, Turkey, Armenia, and Azerbaijan. My job is not to be politically correct. It is to witness, observe, analyze, and document the beautiful chaos that surrounds us all so that future generations can understand how we got to this moment in time where I am blessed to be reunited with Abdiel LeRoy, who I think is in Central America, Costa Rica. Am I correct?
I identify as a taco-eating gringo living somewhere south of Texas under a blue roof.
Smart. Okay. So, how are people in your neck of the woods dealing with everything that's going on this small planet, from the situation with Iran, Israel, Gaza, Palestine, and the United States, with Mexico saying that they're going to annex parts of the United States?
Well, that's a big and bewildering question, isn't it? I think they're more concerned with pronouns and gender from my recent experience and being distracted by the trivial while the momentous is escaping their attention. I'd say
Wow.
that's
So you're really in the
what's happening.
United States because that's the only kind of trivial stuff that the United Slaves of America are tending to. People outside of the USA don't really worry about gender and pronouns stuff.
But the expats do.
Oh, really?
So yeah, it's the expats who are bringing this foolishness across borders. That's an American export.
Wow. What are you doing hanging out with expats?
Well, I'm not, but I am in WhatsApp groups with some of them and finding a vast delusion at work. I've written an article about the rape of Pavones, a surf town in southwest Costa Rica, and if it's not stopped, the tyrants are going to rampage and destroy it, kick people's doors in, and eventually they'll come for the children. And they're worried about pronouns. And I've experienced a great deal of false accusation in the past week, and it's raised my awareness of the misplaced priorities, shall we say. But before we proceed, Victor Hugo, I'd like to give a brief introduction and set up what I want to talk about today.
Yes, please do.
So for those who didn't hear the first time I came on with Victor Hugo, my name is Abdiel LeRoy, author, poet, narrator, actor, all-round creative genius. My life's work is to be a man of letters, and my mission is to obliterate and destroy the Molech-worshipping cult of daughter fuckers and son fuckers that now infest every man-made institution, and to herald on earth the kingdom of the Most High. In this I am led by the Son of Man, my Captain and Saviour, Jesus Christ, to whom I have devoted life and soul. I attest that I am not a member of a secret society, nor have I sworn a secret oath, nor do I have any affiliation with that satanic kingdom that has usurped the name of Israel and perpetrates atrocity and genocide wearing Moloch's badge. Now, therefore, with the Lord of Spirits, our Heavenly Father, whose throne we may approach with confidence, and with the Son of Man, our Captain Saviour, brother, and friend, Jesus Christ, who intercedes for us, we decree over this meeting and its participants, and over the righteous assembly in the audience, that chorus of witnesses, do not touch my anointed ones, do my prophets no harm. Therefore, Lord of spirits and host of hosts, Lord of hosts, set now our feet upon a firm foundation. In you we establish that no one will be able to stand up against us all the days of our lives, that no weapon forged against us will prevail, and we refute every tongue that would accuse us. From heaven we bestow protection and flow upon this meeting, that we are protected and flow on earth. All this is decreed in heaven and now effected on earth. So be it, so be it, and so be it.
So be it. Hallelujah. From your mouth to the Creator's ears. May it be so. I
Agreed.
also want to add, for those who are joining for the first time, one thing that Abdiel LeRoy failed to add to his introduction is that he's really quite humble, which also goes to show really the level of humility that Abdiel LeRoy has in failing to include that in his description of his genius. So I just wanted to include that.
Thank you, brother. So, have you paid attention to the Don't Do Kings business that's been going on?
Uh, it's interesting. There's so much more important things going on, like what's happening right now in Palestine and in Gaza. Everything else is just a distraction designed to keep our minds away from the genocide that's happening. Because with Palantir coming in and with Trump enabling all this war that he said he wasn't going to allow, we are at the precipice, not of the end of humanity, but at the end of the world as we know it. And I agree with you that we are surrounded by people who are lacking the ability to see the reality that surrounds them. When you said that the people were more concerned with pronouns, today I was doing a bench session and I was naming the enemy, which is the synagogue of Satan. Those who call themselves Jews but are not, are actually uh, worshipers of the father of all lies. And a person who fits the description of what you described, covered in tattoos and with the funky looking hair and everything, she overheard me speaking about what's going on. And so she labeled me a ultra anti-Semite or an extreme anti-Semite, which is not the case at all. So whenever you point out the horrors that are happening now and that happened throughout history by these people who claim to be Jews but are not, are deceivers, you're labeled an anti-Semite, which is all by design. So I think we're losing the culture war. That's what they're battling us with, is the culture war. They have people convinced of about lies, and they've embraced the deception. And I think that's really what we're not seeing. Because some of these wars that we're seeing, I'm not even sure if they're real. I'm not saying that people aren't dying, but the numbers, just like what happened in the Holocaust, they'll have you believe that 6 million died during the Holocaust. That's just simply not true. So I think that's what we need to conquer, is this culture war that we're fighting right now.
This is something that Orwell talked about. So, one of the overlooked passages in 1984 is Julia is talking to Winston, and she's saying that in her opinion, the war wasn't happening, and that the rocket bombs that were falling on London were fired by the government of Oceania itself to keep the people frightened and to whip them up into patriotic fervor. So that playbook is still very much in operation, and he was talking about it 75 years ago. Now, the reason I brought up the Don't Do Kings is because there was a tab on that website that said Know Your Rights, and I'm all about Know Your Rights. I didn't bring my volume, but I've written the three book volume Battle Manuals for Freedom. And why aren't my books front and center on that website? Because I'm one of the leading voices on this earth in upholding the rights of man, and especially medical rights. And what are they doing? They're quoting the ACLU, but where was the ACLU when Americans were being slaughtered in hospitals? And where was the so-called medical freedom movement when I was telling people to uphold their medical confidentiality and to refuse the tests? They were absent, which meant that Americans were getting zip-tied to their beds, sedated, and ventilated to death. So thousands of lives were needlessly lost because the so-called medical freedom movement ignored what I was saying. And then I see, as you say, that the attention is being siphoned off by the fake opposition so that people are distracted away from the true arena which we are fighting.
So I don't know how we're going to overcome this. I know that we are going to overcome it because there comes a breaking point where people are just going to realize what you said, that the CIA, the FBI, Donald Trump, Pam Bondi, all these people that well, not we, but that the magatards consider heroes are actually false idols. And they're all following a script. And the script is starting to be exposed. I'm noticing that particularly where I am because I'm on the border with Turkey, and Turkey's going to play a big part in this Iran versus Israel war because they've got the biggest military manpower of all of NATO. And right now, Erdogan is playing both sides. But the population of Turkey is demanding that he go against Israel. And if he wants to survive and not go the way of Syria's former president, he's going to have to take sides with Israel, or rather with Iran. And all of the Middle East is going to have to do that as well, because what the people in the Middle East are starting to realize is just as Israel has parasitically taken over the entire world by infiltrating using the Babylonian magic trick, blackmail, and bribery in every government, from Mexico to, like you're saying now, that small part of Costa Rica that is under attack. That's how they do it. They don't need large numbers. But once the people unite, once everybody in the Middle East unites, um, I do believe the United States and Israel will fall. It's really strange because I love my country. I'm born and raised in the United States, but it's not my country anymore. And I could tell you, I don't know how the expats are where you're at. I'm actually rooting for Iran, and that doesn't make me a traitor. Right now, Iran is the only one that's standing up to the evil that is Israel. For those dumbed down Americans, realize Trump isn't calling the shots. Remember who Trump held the chair out for? It was Benjamin Netanyahu. So
But
Benjamin
Iran
Netanyahu
is the
controlling the United States. The United States is Israel's bitch. So Iran is the only one right now that's standing up, and pretty much Russia, China, everybody knows where the evil is. The evil's emanating out of Washington, D.C., Israel, London City, and the Vatican, and uh, 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 Switzerland as well. So
Iran has been in the target since at least 2001. So when the invasion of Afghanistan happened and then the invasion of Iraq, they wanted Iran because that was the biggest prize of all. That was, I think it's 5 times the landmass of Iraq. It's got enormous oil reserves. And they've always been itching for an excuse to go after Iran. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some more false flag events. I mean, it seems false flag events are happening almost every week now. I wouldn't be surprised to see one that's pointed at Iran so that they can manufacture some pretext to mount another invasion or other military attacks.
The problem that the people don't seem to realize is that it's all theater. It's all scripted already. We know what the outcome is going to be because it's been written. So even the Iranians at the top level are knowing what's going to happen. The only ones that are kept from the script are the plebes, the useless eaters. So
See,
I don't know.
I would prefer them to have baklava wars. I had a friend in Beijing who prepared some. She was Iranian. She prepared some baklava for me. And so all these countries have claims to baklava. Greece will say that we invented it. Iran will say that we invented it. Let's have a squabble over that instead of oil and uranium.
And it's not even that. That's just a distraction. Really, what all this is leading to is a one world government where we are going to be controlled through this palantir, through artificial intelligence, and through a one world court, which is going to be run by the Rothschilds and the Jews out of Jerusalem. So if people don't wake up soon, that's going to be our future. There's going to be concentration camps. There's going to be 15-minute cities. Those 15-minute cities are going to be Gaza. The way of Gaza is the way of the world if people don't wake up. And so everything else is just distraction. And Trump is in on it. Pam Bondi's in on it. Kash Patel's in on it. They're all in on it. It's all being micromanaged. They're all playing their roles. And I don't know, people are thinking that God is going to come down and save everything. He's already given us all the tools that we need to save ourselves, but we're not doing it.
So I'm going to talk today about fake Israel. I'm going to talk today about Kung Fu Jesus and share a presentation. And I hesitated to do this before on your show because I worried that people don't have the attention span for it and they wouldn't listen to the quotes that I prepared. But I want to set today with you, Victor Hugo, a document of record. And I attest that everyone will hear something today that you haven't heard before. And if you don't, you get a refund. So I'm going to be talking today about the death of tyrants, the Satanic playbook and secret societies, the Vatican and the Ninth Circle, Molech worship, medical cannibalism, and the mark of the beast. I'll be talking about royal murders and angel rapes, about fake Israel and the spirit of Jezebel, about Trump and crisis actors. I'll be talking about the end times and the prophesied destruction of the United Nations, and I will be playing some characters and doing different voices. But I want to build all this on a sure foundation, and that takes time, and that will include quotes. So having said that, Victor Hugo, feel free to ask questions as we go along.
So be it.
Amen. So the origin of this presentation is that I was on a podcast with Richard Vobes in April titled Prayer to Overthrow Empire, and we were supposed to record for 2 hours. We only recorded for 1 hour 20, of which he aired only 40 minutes. So basically he cut out 2/3 of what I had prepared. So in response, I wrote a 3-part article, which you can find on my Substack, titled Prayer to Slaughter Tyrants. And my Substack address is poeteye.substack.com. And I prepared this presentation. So I'm going to go to a screen share. And feel free to ask questions as we go.
My question is, I see a lot of spices in the background there. Are you also a chef?
No, but I live in other people's homes. So they are chefs, and I'm the bachelor living in it for a while. So no, I don't use the spices. There's a place down the road where there's a bakery, and there's a place where I can order pizza, and then if I get on my motorbike, I can go and get some lunch somewhere.
Nice.
But I do boil eggs, and I do put bread in a toaster.
Wow.
So
What a handsome devil that is.
so does that show up now? Can you see the presentation?
Yes, Prayer to Slaughter Tyrants by Abdiel LeRoy.
Okay. So I during this will be referring to some of my books. The main one is called A Better Eden, and also Battle Manuals for Freedom, where I talk about rights and constitutions and that sort of thing. So if anyone wants to take a screenshot, I will also show this slide again at the close. And to establish the theme for today, this is Tony Benn, who was a British Member of Parliament for decades. I was brought up by my mother on the Bible, and she told me something that I've never forgotten. She said the stories in the Bible are stories about the conflict between the kings who have power and the prophets who preach righteousness. And she told me to support the prophets and not the kings. So, Victor Hugo, are we okay to keep proceeding?
Yes, absolutely. I agree.
Okay. So, the promises of prayer. We who are in Christ have barely begun to exercise our authority in prayer. What are the promises of prayer? So, this is from Revelation 8. Another angel who had a golden censer came and stood at the altar. He was given much incense to offer with the prayers of all the saints on the golden altar before the throne. So the prayers of the saints are pleasing to the Most High. And then from James 5, the prayers of a righteous man are powerful and effective. So what is the qualification to be a righteous man? So I am a righteous man not because I have done the right things or lived a good life, but because the righteousness of Christ is conferred on me. It is a gift through faith. Abram believed God, and it was credited to him as righteousness. And righteousness is also depicted as a garment in Scripture. May your priests be clothed with righteousness. May your saints sing for joy.
One quick question, and I'm only
Yep.
thinking if I were God, and I suppose that's ego speaking, but it says that God really appreciates the prayers. But can you imagine being God around for all eternity? And sometimes I get bored just, I don't know, and I'm not even God. But really, like the best thing for God is to hear some person in the middle of, I don't know, Bronx, New York, praying that he wins the basketball game for his high school team, or some cheerleader in Madison, Wisconsin, praying to God that she wins the cheerleading competition, or some gambler in Las Vegas blowing on the dice and praying that he hits two sevens. I mean, really, is that what is like the ultimate pleasure for God? That seems kind of strange to me, at least.
Well, I would say if the angels are preparing the prayers to burn as incense before the throne of the Most High, there's been some distillation process beforehand. There's been some filtration of all the nonsense, the babbling like pagans, as Christ was talking about. and empty words are evil, is a quote from Homer's Odyssey. So they've distilled the fragrance from this stuff, much as we would, I suppose, we prepare essential oils or something.
So, okay, so God really loves like a really good prayer. What would be a really good prayer? Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. If you say that one, is that like again?
Yeah, I'd say that that's like a skeleton prayer in the sense that we can build the flesh around the concepts in that prayer.
Wow, I guess it's a good thing I'm not God because I don't know if I could handle everybody just praying to me all the time. I'd get kind of bored.
So let's go on to the okay, here we go. So as I said, there'll be some quotes here today, and I encourage listeners, this might be a good time to sit down and close your eyes and take this in, because this is a transformative pair of quotes I'm going to share right now. They're both in my book, A Better Eden. And so I'm taking part of them for this. And
All
this is
right,
John Bunyan speaking. Yeah.
let's give those people who listen to this podcast while putzing around the house a moment to put down their mops, their brooms, their kitty litter, and just clean your hands real quick if you're anything like me and a germ phobe. Go ahead, scrub your hands, grab that towel, wipe your hands, and then find a nice, comfortable place to sit. Take a breather, stop putzing. All right, continue, Abdiel.
Yeah, so this is John Bunyan, the famed author of Pilgrim's Progress, from another book he wrote called Grace Abounding to the Chief of Sinners. Grace means the unmerited favor of God. But one day, as I was passing in the field, and that too with some dashes of conscience, fearing lest all was not right, suddenly this sentence fell upon my soul: Thy righteousness is in heaven. And methought withal I saw with the eyes of my soul Jesus Christ at God's right hand. There, I say, is my righteousness. So that wherever I was or whatever I was doing, God could not say of me, He lacks my righteousness, for that was just before him. I also saw, moreover, that it was not my good frame of heart that made my righteousness better, nor yet my bad frame of heart that made my righteousness worse. For my righteousness was Jesus Christ himself, the same yesterday and today and forever. So this is one of my favorite quotes that I've ever read. And I follow it with this one from Martin Luther, written in 1531, his commentary on the book of Galatians. He is also talking about righteousness. So he says there are various types of righteousness. There's a ceremonial righteousness of going through certain rituals. There's a civic righteousness, which might be obeying government authorities or paying your taxes. But none of that has anything to do with true righteousness, which he calls a mere passive righteousness. Why do we then nothing? Do we work nothing at all for the obtaining of this righteousness? I answer, nothing at all. For the nature of this righteousness is to do nothing, to hear nothing, to know nothing whatsoever of the law or of works, but to know and to believe this only, that Christ is gone to the Father and is not now seen, that he sitteth in heaven at the right hand of his Father, not as judge, but made unto us of God wisdom, righteousness, holiness, and redemption. Briefly, that he is our high priest, interceding for us and reigning over us and in us by grace. Here no sin is perceived, no terror or remorse of conscience is felt, For in this heavenly righteousness, sin can have no place, for there is no law. And where no law is, there can be no transgression. So I was talking with Curtis just before we started about the Garden of Eden. And the Almighty introduces a law: do not eat of that particular tree. But until that law was introduced into the garden, Adam and Eve had no opportunity to sin because there was no law by which sin could be defined. And Christ's act of righteousness on the cross is that he nails to the cross legal obligation. And he has restored us to that pre-law state of innocence where no sin is perceived. And where there is no law, there is no sin. Therefore, let us approach the throne of grace with confidence. Now, this is where I invoke Moses, because when you read the book of Exodus, you will read this passage, you will read this sentence repeatedly. The Lord said to Moses, go and do this, or go and say such and such to Pharaoh. And Moses did according to the word of the Lord. But Moses grows in confidence so much in his interactions with Pharaoh that he can improvise. And then the Lord did according to the word of Moses. So this idea of a prophet standing before the throne of the Most High and the Most High carrying out what the prophet decrees is encapsulated in a wonderful novel written in the time of Elijah called The Lamp of Darkness by Dave Mason. What the righteous decree, the Holy One carries out. So this changes our entire demeanor in prayer, where we are not pleading and begging, but issuing decrees. So prayer is not the general confession. So I was a choir boy when I was a teenager, and every Sunday in church we'd all face the altar and we'd say this general confession. And this text is an abomination, and I tear it apart in my book, A Better Eden. And so I'm quoting it now, not to honor it, but to mock it. Almighty and most merciful Father, we have erred and strayed from thy ways like lost sheep. We have followed too much the devices and desires of our own hearts. We have offended against thy holy laws. We have left undone those things which we ought to have done, and we have done those things we ought not to have done, and there is nothing good in us. O Lord, have mercy upon us, miserable offenders. So I'll take one aspect of that right now, because the Apostle Paul, whose writings I love, writes that the old has gone, the new has come, that the law is now in our hearts, it's not external to us, and that we are now slaves to righteousness. So a slave to righteousness, he who is in Christ has no business calling himself a miserable offender or saying, there is nothing good in me. And this is where the rubber hits the road, because we're talking about now the authority of prayer in spiritual warfare. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. That's from Ephesians 6. And then from 2 Corinthians 10, for though we live in the world, we do not wage war as the world does. The weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds. So you and me, Victor Hugo, Brandon, Wynne, Dustin, we are in the stronghold demolishing business. Resist the devil and he will flee from you. I have given you authority to overcome all the power of the enemy. And whatsoever you bind on earth is bound in heaven. Whatsoever you loose on earth is loosed in heaven. So prayer and spiritual warfare is taking Jesus at his word. And these are the words that he said. So you still with me, Victor Hugo?
Yeah. So all these things are things that Jesus said. Resist the devil and he will flee from you. He said that.
Well, that was James, but the next two quotes from the Gospels of Luke and Matthew. Yeah.
So who said James said that? Resist the devil and he will flee from you?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So this is a simple precept that I come back to because people go back and forth about where are we in the end time. So there's no point because this is the downfall and the apocalypse and the battle of Armageddon. It's all written. There's nothing you can do. And I say, I don't know where we are in this timeline. I can see that the buds are becoming tender on the tree, which is the metaphor that Jesus talked about. And many things are converging, but I do not know the timing. So I'm going to keep it simple and resist the devil that he shall flee from me. Now that third quote about whatsoever you bind or loose on earth is bound or loosed in heaven. What kind of things would we bind in prayer and intercession? Bind the flow of funds to organizations and institutions and individuals who are trying to destroy us. Bind the flow of poisons issued by Big Pharma. Bind the flow of chemicals to chemtrailing planes. Bind live organ harvesting. Bind the flow of adrenochrome, a substance harvested from tortured children, which the parasite class consume in a bid for a more youthful appearance, and which shape-shifting entities consume to maintain a human disguise. What would we loose? We would loose the history and the technology and land masses and primary water sources that have been hidden from us. Loose the books in the Vatican library and artifacts in museum vaults that tell a different story from the official narrative. Loose the truth about what lies beyond Antarctica. Expose who the Sestuikevi trustees are. Remove the masks and disguises of people and entities pretending to be what they're not.
Wouldn't that only work on a grand scale if everybody repeated that in unison consciously? Because I think the reason why the devil and evil is winning is because they know that people are so divided and distracted that, like, you see these missiles, for example, they're landing and they're killing people and they're destroying things. If you're standing underneath that missile and you pray, uh, I don't mean I'm not meaning to sound blasphemous, but I don't think the missile's not going to hit you just because you pray for it not to hit you. It's gonna hit you. I think the problem that we have is that there's a lack of faith, and the evil that exists knows that and feeds off of that. That's why they keep us in fear rather than in faith.
Well, Jesus said, where two or three are gathered together in thy name, I'm there with them. And where two or three agree about something, it is done for you by your Father in heaven. So a quorum is three people. So this is why I craft and utter the intercessory decrees with you on your show and ask for the audience to add your agreed or so be it, because then we have a quorum and then we see power being wielded. So again, it's taking
From your mouth to
Christ at
God.
his word.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I believe in the power of positive thinking and also the power of words. I do. But
Well, it's not the power of positive thinking. I mean, that's a kind of new age construct that has been siphoning off faith, I would say, because we're seeing a lot of negative and destructive things happening in the world, and we are acknowledging that these things are happening and calling them out. So I'm not interested in positive or negative. I'm interested in the truth and the power,
Wow, yeah,
justice.
that's very powerful. If you could repeat that, because that's also what I'm working towards, and that's what this podcast is about. It's about the truth, because right now we're drowning in lies, and the fact that everybody's just normalized lies and deception and disinformation and misinformation is what's gotten us into this mess. So if you could just repeat that again, please, because
Yeah,
those three things are paramount.
yeah. So I will be coming on to this further along in the presentation. But positive thinking is a deception. This is not about positive or negative. We are acknowledging the destructive and harmful events that are going on in the world, and we're not glossing over them or sugarcoating them by being quote unquote positive. We are acknowledging the truth and the horrors and the atrocities. And we are turning to the power that transcends right and wrong, that transcends black and white, that transcends positive and negative, and that transcends all the political theater that is underway, that transcends left or right. Because the arena we're fighting in is not left and right. That's a horizontal arena. We're fighting in the vertical arena of life over death, creation over destruction, and love over fear. And a related deception that I will come on to later in this presentation is raise your frequency. What is the frequency of the original note A? 432 hertz, but it was tweaked to take away the benefits of that frequency. It was tweaked to 440 hertz. What have you done? You've raised your frequency, but you have created destruction in the process. Visible light is beneficial to us, but you raise the frequency from visible light to gamma rays and X-rays. You are doing harm. So this raise your frequency is a Luciferian deception, and it is bullshit.
No
So
argument.
moving on, yeah. The kingdom of heaven has been advancing forcefully, some translations say violently, and forceful men lay hold of it. We are doing violence with our prayers and intercessions, and we have to do violence with them because we are dealing with a violent cult that wants to destroy all that is beautiful and all that the Creator has made in his image. And I have written an epic poem titled Elijah, and I'm going to be very modest again by telling you that this epic poem rivals Homer's Iliad and the Odyssey. It rivals Virgil's Aeneid. It aspires to John Milton's Paradise Lost, and it far exceeds Dante's Inferno. So quoting 4 lines from my epic poem Elijah: for what can armor, helmet, sword, or shield in that arena do where prophets wield their power and works of angels are unsealed? This is a battle of another field. Like Moses, Elijah is an exemplar of speaking truth to power. So Elijah is my great Old Testament hero, along with Moses. And usually when people talk about speaking truth to power, what they mean is speaking truth about power to each other. But Elijah gets in the face of King Ahab, the king of the land, the highest political authority of his day. He gets in his face This is because Ahab and Jezebel have conspired to have an innocent man falsely accused and stoned to death so that Ahab can steal his vineyard. So Elijah gets in his face and said, from now on, your house is destroyed. The house of Ahab is destroyed. Everyone who pisses against a wall. If they're in the country, they will be food for the crows. If they're in the city, they'll be food for the dogs. And Jezebel herself will be dog's meat at the wall of Jezreel. And then if Elijah were operating today, he would be called an anti-Semite because he was attacking the false political authority that called itself Israel. And this is happening again today for those who attack the fake state, government, and military that calls itself Israel, but is really the synagogue of Satan. Now, on that theme of speaking truth to power, you've probably seen the videos of people surrounding Bill Gates as he's ushered to his car by his security detail, or you've seen the angry crowd surrounding Justin Trudeau, and he's got his phalanx of his Praetorian Guard around him. And they might shout something like, "You're a murderer, Bill Gates. You belong in jail, Bill Gates." And those things are true, but they lack prophetic authority. So this is the kind of language we can use when we get in the faces of these tyrants, and we have a target-rich environment because they are all over the place and they're not hard to spot. From heaven I unmask you, that you are unmasked on earth, so that all shall know who you are and what you have done and whom you serve. And or, from heaven I decree your downfall and destruction, that you are destroyed on earth. And I want us to step into our authority, because we have the authority of logic. Now, this is from the documentary Straw Man. Government is a creation of man, and a creation of man can never be above man. We have authority over everything that government is and everything that government creates, but people have been brainwashed to believe that government has authority over them. It doesn't. It's a fiction. And we who are in Jesus can add to that the spiritual authority to overcome all the power of the enemy. And so one of the ongoing themes in my books is stop calling legislation law. So legislation, executive orders, various decrees, these are one-sided contracts. Now, for instance, Victor Hugo, if you and I were going to write a book together and we were going to call this book It's the Jews, and we make this agreement, okay, Victor, you're going to bring your research and materials to me, and I'm going to turn it into beautiful prose. And we make this agreement, okay, we're going to publish this book, and we're going to split the costs, and we're going to split the royalties 50-50. Okay, so we would draw up a contract, and we would negotiate it until both of us are happy with the contract, and we say, okay, yes, I agree, write my signature and the date. Okay, we've just made a contract. But the way that governments and parliaments and bureaucracies are working, and Congress, is that they write this legislation, which they falsely call law. It's a one-sided contract, and they think to impose it on us without our signature or consent. It's not worth the air it's written on.
Well, I know that and you know that,
Rather,
but the thing is, taxpayer dollars go to pay the Freemason police that are thugs, and they don't work to uphold a law. They work to protect the central bankers that print out the money. It's all a mess. I get it. All this stuff makes total sense. The problem is we're dealing with thugs, man.
we are. But we stand in true law. Now, what is the true law? It is to love the Lord your God with all of your heart and all of your mind, and to love others as you love yourself. So loving others as you love yourself means you do no harm. And doing no harm is the essence of common law. I will be talking about the police and the policy enforcers. I'll come on to that. So when we're dealing with these people, we can cite things that have been written by men, like constitutions, or in the rare event that legislation is beneficial or protective, or the rare event that court precedents are written righteously, to remind the would-be enforcers of their obligation. And if they have sworn a public oath, to remind them of their public oath. And if they say, this is the law, you have to do this, we say, produce the document and show me where I signed it.
Yeah, and then they throw you in jail and you're in solitary confinement, or they end up suing you like they did Jesse Hall, throw you into the litigation vortex, and nobody cares. And then if some Jewish lawyer wants to help you out, you got to pay $6,000 down, $500 an hour.
So this is because they have created a legal structure that has nothing to do with law, where they are pursuing an agenda of 3 E words: extort, enslave, and exterminate. And then there's a 4th E, which is to exculpate, so that they let themselves off the hook for the previous 3 E's. So I will be coming on to this, that we need to arrest the police because they are the enforcers of this tyranny. Now, going back to Magna Carta, the foundational constitutional document that's been around for more than 8 centuries, it says, we will appoint as justices, constables, sheriffs, and bailiffs only men who know the law and are minded to keep it well. So these police and sheriffs and various enforcers and bureaucrats, they do not know the law. They are enforcing policy. And in interactions with them, one disarming question to ask is, are you a member of a secret society? Have you sworn a secret oath? Because, as Christ said, you cannot serve 2 masters. Jesus said, people will come to him, the souls will come to him at the day of judgment, and they'll say, did we not do this, that, and the other in your name? He'll say, away from me, I never knew you. And in Revelation 3, I'm going to spit you out of my mouth. The dual oath swearers who secretly love their secret oaths while doing lip service to the public oath are the spat out and the never known. So I propose saying a shibboleth to the would-be enforcers: recite your public oath by heart. This is at the very core of who you are. For instance, the constable's oath in England promises to uphold fundamental human rights, but on a daily and routine basis, the English constables are desecrating human rights. And I will remind them, as set out in Deuteronomy, that he who breaks the law is under a curse. Now, sometimes if you're dealing with these parasite tyrants, you will have gatekeepers. So I will say to the gatekeepers, destruction befalls any who impedes this message to whomever. I also propose, this is in accordance with what happened to the false priests of Baal in 2 Kings 10, that Jehu, who is then king of Israel, arranges to invite the priests of Baal to conduct one of their rituals and make sure that no true prophets of the Lord are among them. And after they complete their ritual, he says to his soldiers, he surrounds the temple, and he says, put every single one of them to the sword. Then they tore down the temple of Baal, and people have been using it for a latrine to this day. So pissing and shitting on our enemies' symbols is a righteous act. Are you with me, Victor Hugo?
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to give you an example of where I spoke truth to power. And this is from April the 11th, 2024, when I was addressing a hearing session of the US negotiating body to the World Health Organization. And the leader of that priesthood was Ambassador Pamela Hamamoto. And this is what I told them. To the Department of Health and Human Services, and all you are taking orders from, to the World Health Organization, and to the various sycophants gathered here today to catch some crumbs from HHS's $2 trillion budget. From heaven I unmask all of you, that you are unmasked on earth, so that all shall know who you are and what you have done and whom you serve. You are a satanic, Molech-worshipping cult, serving deities of human sacrifice, murdering children in the womb, at the breast, and directly by the needle. Who am I to say this? I am a man, and man has authority over all the creations of men, meaning I have authority over all of you. I am also exercising my authority in Jesus Christ to overcome all the power of the enemy, and you are the enemy, traitors to your country, traitors to mankind. You have exchanged the black robes of your secret societies with white coats and hospital scrubs, swapped sacrificial knives with poisoned needles, blood-drenched altars with hospital beds, and you have desecrated your public oaths with secret oaths. Therefore, before the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, I decree all World Health Organization and United Nations talk shall collapse in dissension and disarray as you destroy each other. So be it, and so be it.
Hey, Abdiel, after you
And
said
then
that, you
on
got
November the
cut off.
4th, 2024, I sent her the following email. Hello, Miss
Wow.
Hamamoto. Yeah. Okay, so where was it cut off?
That's okay. You're back now.
Victor
You were
Hugo, can you
talking
hear me?
about it. You're talking about an email that you sent to her.
Yeah. So on November the 4th, 2024, I sent her this email. Hello, Miss Hamamoto. You may recall me telling you that the World Health Organization negotiations would fail. That is about to come to pass. The organization and the one you represent are destined for destruction, and I shall rejoice at their demise. Meanwhile, we have observed your complicity in genocide as you play priestess to infernal deities. You too will meet unanswerable wrath in your coming appointment with justice. All this is decreed in heaven and now effected on earth. Abdiel LeRoy. And a month later, she resigned from the negotiations.
Hey, so where was this that you actually said this to these people? Were you in New York or Switzerland, or where were you?
Well, I was in Costa Rica at the time. So this was a Zoom meeting with the various members of that negotiating team and the sycophantic sort of non-governmental organizations that were gathered around the table and kissing her ass, basically.
How'd you
But
get
there
in?
were a few. Well,
How did you?
I was informed about it by James Roguski. So James Roguski has been phenomenal and on the case of the World Health Organization, the negotiations and the international health regulations. So it was he who informed me about it, and I signed up to take part in that hearing session.
So you physically were not there in front of these people.
It was done by Zoom, so they were seeing my face and hearing my voice.
But some of them could have been like, I don't know, picking their toenails or their nose while you were saying this.
Well, it doesn't matter what they're doing because I'm decreeing this before the throne of the Most High,
So you're saying your words
whether they like it or not.
your words had an impact on this particular Hamamoto woman.
Yeah. And then on February the 13th, 2025, now this piece of shit here, Dr. Peter Marks, he is worse than Fauci. He was the leading psychopath behind the so-called vaccine agenda. during the COVID years. And he is credited with coming up with the term Operation Warp Speed. So on February the 13th, 2025, in an interview with you, I included in my intercessory decree the downfall and destruction of Dr. Peter Marks, Pfizer's and Moderna's henchman at the FDA, unquote. And I since learned that on March the 28th, 2025, about 6 weeks later, he was forced to resign. So going back up here, go on.
Well, the thing about, and I noticed this is happening a lot, people are resigning. Big deal. No offense, but if I genocide billions of people, rape and torture millions of children, and eat thousands of babies, and at the end, they tell me that I need to resign and I'm going to get a very healthy monthly pension, I could give two shits what you say about me because I'm going to be on a yacht near Epstein's Island, chilling with all my pedophile friends and eating babies under the pale moonlight. So I just don't get this whole resignation thing. So these people are all resigning and then going to heaven on earth. If you're a pedophile, I'm no pedophile. That's not heaven for me, but they're all hanging out with the Podesta brothers. Every time I see kids, I think about the Podesta brothers. I see kids, I see a future, I see joy, I see innocence. But then I think about the Podesta brothers who are getting billions of dollars from US or USA taxpayers. And these people, like, they torture, rape, and eat babies. And they're still doing it.
As I said before, I agree that this is not justice. It is a token of justice. And as I said at the beginning, we have barely begun to exercise our authority in Christ. But I would also talk about the metaphor of a stronghold. Remember, I talked about demolishing strongholds before, that any stronghold may have, I don't know, say three levels of walls: an outer wall, an inner wall, and then the keep, the inner fortress. So I will rejoice if I've got through the outer wall. I'm not saying I have stormed the keep yet and run a sword through these people, metaphorically speaking.
I'm just hoping that whatever you and I say inspires people to run past these decrees and start with the tarring and feathering already. I think that would be a nice addition to getting towards justice. I'm all for tarring and feathering. And then bring out the guillotines, please. I mean,
Well,
I'm starting to lose my
I'm all
patience.
for
I'm all
arresting
You're arresting?
these people and putting them before our own courts. Don't go running to the legal system. Don't go running to the police station. We do the arrest and we put them on trial in our own courts.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that day. I hope I live to see some tarring and some feathering and some decapitations and some real justice because what I'm seeing right now is just making me sick. Like, like it's really gross.
It is. So I attribute to intercession the release of Julian Assange, thwarting escalation of war, disrupting negotiations of the World Health Organization, diverting hurricanes and thwarting weather weapons, and exposing the satanic pedophile and pedivore networks.
You know, you're absolutely right about the whole hurricanes and all that stuff. It's just disgusting. These people who work for the DARPA and for the military, these order followers, when some psychopath comes up to them and tells them, okay, we need directed energy weapons over Lahaina, Hawaii, because we need to get that land from the natives there, because we got to build 15-minute cities for Bill Gates. I mean, some idiot making probably less than $30,000 a year presses the button that ends up sending the Jewish lasers down to Lahaina, Hawaii, killing people. They still haven't found those 2,000 plus missing children there. Like nobody cares. And then those Freemason police officers who kept people from escaping and actually drove them into the fires. All that stuff is so evil, so negative. Why don't they use that stuff for areas where there's drought? Like right now, it's raining where I am. That's not real rain. They've been cloud seeding. That's all like man-made weather warfare to keep everybody inside because they don't want people talking. So why don't they just like they could they know how to control the weather. Why don't they control it for good? Everybody's control and the same thing with medicine. They have all this natural homeopathic things. I, I hate to sound like such a Debbie Downer, but we need to start executing people. Like we need to stop pussyfooting around. We need to start having military tribunals. And I don't care. First of all, we should stop. We should start from the top, the people who are financing all this stuff, and then work our way down to the punks at the bottom who are pressing the buttons, saying, "I'm just doing my job." Because really,
Well, military tribunals smacks of military law and martial law. So this is not what I'm advocating, because if you have some centralized authority administering justice, I mean, we hear about this. Oh, they've got Hillary Clinton, or they've got whoever down in Guantanamo Bay, and they've been dealt with. Well, that's not justice.
yeah, that's all
And
nonsense.
as I said before, that the reason that we have written into the Bill of Rights a speedy and public trial, the reason it's public is not just so that the accused can be accorded due process. It's so that the people can see that justice is being done and is healing.
Well, it
It's
didn't
healing to
happen
the
with
people.
Ghislaine Maxwell, and it also didn't happen with Epstein. The files still aren't being released by Judge Donald W. Heffiel, which, by the way, every time people watch this podcast, if you're wondering what those works of art behind me are, those are a constant reminder that Judge Donald W. Heffiel has failed to release all the information that he was presiding over with the Jeffrey Epstein case and that poor victim who recently died. And of course, the fake news media is claiming that she killed herself. That girl, Virginia Dufree, she was murdered, and she was part of that Judge Donald W. Heffield trial. That's why you see this, because the judge told me that I couldn't talk about or write about what I knew. But as you could see, there's like kids there that are being tortured, and kids that are being raped, and nobody cares about this. So that's why you see every time you're watching this show and you see behind me, that's what I'm trying to remind people of, the kids. Nobody
Yeah, and
cares.
the boy brides.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're frustrating me, Abdiel, because you're reminding me how disgusting this world is that we live in.
Yeah. At the same time, though, it is a target-rich environment for us, and it is an opportunity to be. And Christ is described as the Word who became flesh, the Word who became flesh. There is an opportunity for you and me to be a Word that became flesh, to bring something of heaven to earth, to be that those men who are forcefully advancing the kingdom of heaven. And
Well, from your
I've
mouth to ears,
yeah, go on.
may
Yeah. So this is another tin pot tyrant who's come onto the radar lately because of his destruction, the mayor of Golfito. Frena Lara Blanco. So he is next for the downfall and destruction. And then I want to talk about the results achieved by Victoria Bingham. So this is something I came across on Substack, and I contacted her afterwards and said, can I share your testimony in a presentation? She was more than happy for me to do so. So she was being assailed by chemtrailing over her house. She's in the States. And she wrote, I pointed at the plane and said out loud, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus Christ. This is God's property that you're messing with. He is maintaining my lot. The lines are fallen unto me in pleasant places. You have no business here. I rebuke you. You will be grounded and not fly again. I was completely unprepared for what happened next. The plane was gone. The trail's gone. Not a trail left behind. The trail should have been visible for hours. Nothing. After I prayed, the whole thing flat out disappeared. And then I want to quote Kevin Annett. Do you know who Kevin Annett is, Victor Hugo?
Somebody just sent me something about Kevin Annett, and he may be coming on the show soon.
Oh, I'd be delighted if he does. So he's done a recent series of interviews with Sean Atwood, where this is sort of in the run-up and in the wake to the installation of so-called Pope Leo. And he was describing how he performed an exorcism in St. Peter's Square in 2009. And he called on the possessing entity in Rome to reveal itself. The next morning, quote, a tornado hits the center of Rome for the first time in 48 years. And that same week, the European press started reporting Ratzinger's role in ordering bishops to cover up child rape. So that's no accident. It wasn't me. It was something working through me at that moment. Ever since then, this stuff has never stopped. The exposure of this stuff is just constant, unquote. So knowing the enemy, the Bible is a battle manual telling us Satan's playbook, which was glaringly obvious during COVID. As Jesus told us, Satan is a murderer from the beginning. We saw that with the hospital protocols that were murdering people en masse, and with the jabs. He is the father of lies. We've seen that with all the propaganda. He is prince of the air, and therefore prince of the airwaves, hence all the saturation of media and social media with lies. He is the accuser of the righteous, hence you and I and whistleblowers and prophets and truth tellers and investigative journalists are accused. And a common form of that accusation is gnat straining. So this is a metaphor coined by Jesus when he denounces the Pharisees who, quote, strain out a gnat but swallow a camel, unquote. Hence, people can be arrested because they express views on social media which cause offense. Meanwhile, the people who are orchestrating all of this are eating and drinking babies. Satan masquerades as an angel of light, which is the character of Lucifer, and his servants masquerade as servants of righteousness, 2 Corinthians 11. In other words, virtue signaling. So all the tyranny that's written into legislation and executive orders is done in the name of some self-righteous sounding idea. So here I come on to the black tile team. So what is the pattern on a Freemason floor, Victor Hugo?
The black and white.
The black and white checkerboard tiles. So the black tiles are obvious. Now is this historical moment. It's a time to shape the system. We need a great reset. There's his lizard sidekick. Humans are no longer useful. Humans are hackable animals. There's the Canadian poodle, the small fringe minority holding unacceptable views. There's the Kiwi vampire. The side effects are a sign that the vaccine's doing what it should. And there's the Euro Dalek. A better world also means a healthier world, and vaccination is our best chance to do this. But what are the white tiles? The Satanic Temple create their own token opposition to siphon off dissent into manageable forums or limited hangouts. They are, to quote Christ's tirade against the Pharisees, whitewashed tombs, beautiful on the outside, but within full of dead men's bones and everything unclean. So, for instance, the mainstream alternative media, the controlled opposition that you and I have talked about, that you've had the encounters with, but within there is the spiritual stench of death. They cannot conceal their death stink, that is to say, their musk. And a couple of quotes from Shakespeare, because you know I love Shakespeare. Oh, what may man within him hide, though angel on the outward side? And then this is from Romeo and Juliet. Beautiful tyrant, fiend angelical, dove-feathered raven, wolvish ravening lamb, despised substance of divinest show. And then from Moby Dick. Now, Moby Dick is described as the white whale. So Herman Melville has a chapter in Moby Dick on the whiteness of the whale. And he likens the whiteness of the whale to the whiteness of the white shark, the whiteness of the polar bear. Witness the white bear of the poles and the white shark of the tropics. What but their smooth, flaky whiteness makes them the transcendent horrors they are.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was watching how the evil brainwashes the public into believing that there is global warming and that we have to eat the bugs and all this stuff by showing children photos of polar bears clinging to ice without mentioning that the polar bears are able to swim for miles and that the reason why they hang out on the ice is because they actually feed on whales. And what they do is they wait for,
Seals.
yeah, they wait for the beluga whales to come by because they have to be near where the ice is broken so that they can breathe, otherwise they drown. So the way that these polar bears work is that they're patient. They sit on these rocks sometimes, they hang out on the ice, and they wait for the beluga whales to come by, and then they snatch them and they eat them. So they have the poor kids committing suicide now because they think that the polar bears are starving or like drowning, but they don't show them or tell them the truth. It's a real shame how everybody's manipulating the truth with deception and misinformation and disinformation and making people feel guilty for stuff that they shouldn't even feel guilty about. There's videos
Yeah.
out there, you can find them on YouTube. The polar bears will snatch up the beluga whales and eat them. So yeah, don't mess with the polar bear.
Okay, I'm trying to get this. Here we go. So among the deceptions, Lucifer, false light, some of these false doctrines that I hear a lot among the New Age crowd. We talked about raise your frequency, collective manifestation. They have to tell you what they're doing. Silence implies consent. Where attention goes, energy flows. You create your own reality, Christ consciousness, etc. And they call these universal law. No, they are deceptions and lies. And in my book, Know Your Lawful Rights, I have a chapter called Demolishing the Satanic Code. where I demolish them. So this is in accordance with 2 Corinthians 10. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God. So I ask those who consider themselves truthers, when Jesus, or Yeshua if you prefer, is the way, the truth, and the life, if your search for truth does not culminate in him, then you are susceptible to deception. If you are waking up, what are you waking up to? Awake, O sleeper, and arise from the dead, and Christ shall shine his light on you. If you're not waking to Christ, then you are in a different level of sleep. And the so-called freedom movement, if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. So if your bid for freedom culminates not in Christ, then you are in a lighter form of slavery. And I also want to talk about the origin story of Satan, whom I call the God of counterfeits and pale imitations. This is from Isaiah 14. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the dawn? You have been cast down to the earth, you who once laid low the nations. You said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven, I will raise my throne, I will make myself like the Most High. So Satan and his spawn want to play God with the weather, which you were talking about just now. They want to play God with the genetic code. They want to play God through surveillance to in their bid for omniscience. And they want to define what righteousness is and impose it and enforce it on everybody else. They write legislation that they falsely call law. They print currency that they falsely call money. They issue so-called mandates that they expect us to obey, and then issue so-called exemptions to those mandates by counterfeit mercy. And mandate, by the way, is the very word that Freemasons use when they give instructions to each other. So COVID was an attempt to induct us surreptitiously as Freemason initiates. Ultimately, they will issue the mark of the beast, a counterfeit of the Holy Spirit, which is the true seal upon those who are in Christ. But their crowning blasphemy is to play God with immortality. This is the motive of transhumanism, the idea that you can upload your consciousness into a chip. Now, if you or I, Victor Hugo, heaven forbid, were buried alive, we could at least die so that our souls may leave the body. But someone who uploads their consciousness into a chip, they are now buried alive in a piece of silicon. They are in a silicon coffin for eternity. Now, they may have some interaction through being in a machine or a skin or some kind of cyborg, but they could just as easily be thrown in a cardboard box or on a landfill. And this may be why in the book of Revelation we are warned, chapter 9, in those days men will long for death and not find it. But transhumanism is not their only path to a counterfeit immortality. They also practice medical cannibalism, harvesting the living to prop up the dead. So I was recently reading the book of Jasher, and the Pharaoh who was the father to the Pharaoh that Moses destroyed. So possibly the Pharaoh that Moses destroyed was Amenhotep II. His father was Thutmose III. But anyway, whoever it was, that Pharaoh was afflicted with boils and sores all over his skin, and his flesh was rotting on his body, and no one could come near him because of the stench. So his physicians told him, you need to put the fresh blood of a child on your wounds every day. So every day the Egyptians would go and steal a Hebrew child and sacrifice it and put the blood on the wounds of the Pharaoh to try and heal him. But that medical cannibalism is still happening today through adrenochrome harvesting and organ harvesting, harvesting the living to prop up the dead. Which brings me to Moloch, the god of child sacrifice. So Pfizer's cumulative analysis report showed that out of 28 potential babies of mothers who had the Pfizer injection, 26 died by spontaneous abortion. 1 died by neonatal death. There was only 1 normal delivery, and we don't even know if that child survived because they didn't do follow-up. So the FDA knew at the latest by May of 2021 that there were these transplacental harms. These were followed by transmammary harms, which is where children were dying at the breast of injected mothers. And I document all this in my book, Know Your Medical Rights, and in the Pfizer papers, the real Pfizer papers. So if they made it through the transplacental attack, they were then assaulted by the transmammary attack. If they made it through the transmammary attack, they could be directly injected from the age of 6 months, according to the emergency use authorization by Dr. Peter Marks at the FDA on June 17th, 2022. That's why I told the US negotiating team, you are a satanic, Molech-worshipping cult, serving deities of human sacrifice, murdering children in the womb, at the breast, and directly by the needle. So this artwork is by Bob Moran, who used to be a cartoonist for the Daily Telegraph, but of course they parted ways, and he's had a successful career as a cartoonist working independently. So this is his cartoon titled Moderna and Child. So that illustration speaks 1,000 words. Moloch and secret societies. The royal secret of Freemasonry is that you can live forever by sexually vampirizing children. And I've talked before about how medicine is infested with Freemasonry. Hospitals have become Freemason temples. Henry Dunant, the founder of the Red Cross, Freemason. Anton Mesmer, who developed mesmerism, Freemason. Joseph Guillotin, after whom the guillotine is named, Freemason. And Edward Jenner, pioneer of the vaccines, Freemason. So COVID was a worldwide ritual sacrifice, human sacrifice. And it echoes the Black Crow Award. So this is from an interview I heard where Dr. Jonathan Landsman was interviewing Dr. Bert Berkson, who is a liver health specialist. And Berkson was talking about how when he was a resident doctor, they had a competition every month to see which resident had the most deaths that month among their patients. The Black Crow Award. So COVID is a worldwide Black Crow Award to see who can add the most corpses to the pile of medical waste. And this was a competition that involved so-called health authorities, health ministers, hospitals, doctors, and nurses. Thus, as I told the negotiating team, you have exchanged the black robes of your secret societies with white coats and hospital scrubs, swapped sacrificial knives with poison needles, blood-drenched altars with hospital beds, and you have desecrated your public oaths with secret oaths. So that's why with this crime scene, even more than follow the money, this is about follow the bodies. And I talk about the Shylock calculation. This is from Shakespeare's play, The Merchant of Venice. So Shylock wants his pound of flesh from Antonio because Antonio defaulted on the debt. And when it comes to a court case, And Shylock is offered 3 times the amount of the original loan if he will show mercy to Antonio. Shylock refuses because he values Antonio's death more than he values repayment of the debt. So this is the supreme target, to make the death count as high as possible and milk the vaccine injuries, the so-called vaccine, to milk it for all the torture they can get along the way, torturing people from the inside out, where they are attacked by their own bodies. Because this technology that is supposed to make the body produce spike proteins it's inevitable that the immune system is going to attack the cells that are producing the spike proteins, meaning that the immune system will attack the body's own cells. It is guaranteed autoimmunity, guaranteed autoimmune conditions which torture the body. It's about maximizing the death count. It's about maximizing the torture. If it were just about the so-called money, then airlines wouldn't have been jabbing their pilots and health insurers wouldn't have been jabbing their customers. So the death count is valued more than the dollar count, because this is a worldwide sacrifice to Moloch and Baal.
And nobody cares.
And well, I care, you care, and there are the bereaved who care about the loss of their loved ones.
Yeah, but what are the bereaved doing about it? I don't see them protesting in front of any government buildings or in front of any hospitals or in front of. I thought, and a lot of people were thinking this too. And again, I'm not condoning violence, but I'm just kind of like wondering, like, like nobody's pissed at the doctors or nurses or anybody who like killed their family, friends, and loved ones. That's so weird. You would have thought that
I'm
some of these people,
surprised. Yeah, I am surprised
some
that
of
I've
these
not
people,
seen
yeah, like if
bereaved family members. Yeah,
yeah, or people who
taking
like
their own,
yeah are suffering
taking
now.
justice.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
what's going like what? I just don't get it.
yeah,
I like most people like me who think like I do, because again, I was trained to kill. I was trained to like sit in rooms and figure out ways of like killing people, because that's what you do in the military. And one of the things that we always thought about was like, revenge and stuff. But these people, like, they're killing their children, they're killing the it's just unbelievable. Kids with autism, lives are ruined, and everybody's just like watching twerking videos. I I'm sorry to interrupt you,
well,
but
this
like
is,
I'm wondering
yeah,
like what's going on? Like really? No wonder everybody's just killing everybody because nobody's doing anything. It's so weird.
yeah. I mean, I am surprised there haven't been more reprisals against doctors and nurses who killed loved ones. And I'm appalled in general at the moral flakiness I see around me.
Why do you suppose more people cared about George Floyd dying or about these pedophiles and human traffickers that are being uh, uh, sent back to their countries than they are about their own families being poisoned by nurses and doctors? The people on fake news television, Rachel Maddow, and uh, apparently the mayor of New York, that Cuomo guy who killed all those old people in the nursing homes, he's thinking of running for mayor again. I mean, what the heck? This is bizarro land. I sometimes wonder if I'm dreaming because I wake up and I hear this stuff. Again, I'm not like for violence, but what the hell is going on? Like, what kind of a weird, funky dream is this?
Yeah. there's a pacification that's been going on. I was listening to a presentation that was hosted by Catherine Austin Fitz titled Omnivore. And they're talking about the various weaponry being deployed to turn off the survival mechanism in the brain. So maybe that's part of what's going on. Maybe there's some weaponry being deployed here.
Holy shit, man. Thankfully, that doesn't seem to be working in Iran and other countries outside of the United States, because I can tell you that I'm seeing people from the Middle East and they're fighting back. In the United States, the Jews are killing the non-Jews, and the non-Jews are like lining up for, I mean, there's a famous scene where Mayor de Blasio is talking about people rolling up their sleeves to get bioweapons disguised as vaccines put into their arms, and you'll get French fries, and there's a burger element to it too. And he asks whoever's behind the camera if it's okay to be eating a burger that early in the morning. And he's like, this is good. I would kill myself for a burger. And you're saying an order of fries comes with this too? Oh, that's good. Go ahead, Goy. Kill yourself. And Mayor de Blasio and his black wife, who stole a whole bunch of money, they're running around. Everybody, like, apparently in the United States, it pays to be a psychopath and a pedophile and a Jew.
And it penalizes you to be a truth teller. So that's why you and me are living in other people's houses. I'm house sitting, looking after other people's homes, cleaning other people's homes, looking after other people's pets, and picking up dog poop, because this is the system that has been created.
Yeah, but why? I mean, bringing it back to God, the creator. So Satan's winning then. We could do all the decrees we want, but Satan is winning.
Well, the battle's not over, is it? So you and I are pretty confident. Well, I certainly am that this culminates with the destruction of the pharaohs of this age, just as Pharaoh and his million-man army went to their death in the Red Sea, and there's a promised land the other side. So I'm keeping that result in mind through all of this. That's where this culminates.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. But I'll tell you what, I'm not going to believe like what they showed on the fake news of the assassination of Osama bin Laden, where they brought the Big Mike's husband out, Bathhouse Barry, to claim that they got Osama bin Laden, and don't worry about it, take our word for it. Here's a picture, and we gave him a burial out at sea. And the same thing with Jeffrey Epstein. Oh yeah, don't worry about it. All the cameras were off. Everything, there's no evidence of it, but take our word for it. Epstein killed himself. I mean, it's just, no. I know this may sound gruesome, people, but we need to see some public executions and not no hanging, because you can easily set up a hanging and you can make anybody look like they're hanging. It's just, no, we need to see like hold up the head and have the eyes like looking around going, holy shit, like, because when you're
Well,
beheaded, you
yeah,
still
I mean,
you're
that's biblical.
for a little bit, so you should be able to
That
show the head, and because otherwise they're just going to be bringing back clones and stuff, and who needs? That's why people are like, oh yeah, they killed Hillary Clinton. What you're seeing now is a clone. Get out of here with that nonsense. Same thing with Biden. Even Trump says that Biden was killed. That so why the hell would you bring back idiots? You know what I'm saying? You kill Biden, then you
so
bring poopy pants Biden? What the hell's going on? again, can somebody wake me up from this like nightmare that I'm in? At least if it was a good movie. This is the stupidest, like, what a dumb world. Who's writing the history books on this? Future generations are really going to be like, really? 81 million people voted for a pedophile who shits his pants on the world stage and showers with his daughter? Really?
Well, that's why I wrote the book, Battle Manuals for Freedom, because I have encapsulated the constitutional language and the rights declarations and so on, lest they be memory hold. I am
Yeah.
doing this as a service to not just this generation, but to future generations. And like you say, how so future generations can know how we got to this moment in time where I'm blessed to be joined by, right? So this is what you say at the beginning of each of your shows. This is
Yes.
why we're doing this. We're creating a document of record, which is what I'm doing with my books.
Yes. And you can find these books. I'll put it in the description section where you can order these for your grandkids so that they stop believing this nonsense. All these lies we're being fed. I'm so tired of these lies. Abdiel, it's interesting. I've had guests on my show, and it's interesting. I'm noticing how these guests are all connected in some weird way. And everybody from Dave Gahari to a gentleman that I had on the other day who told me he's friends with Dr. Shiva. And I'm like, okay, listen, I understand that forgiving is not a weakness and I'm willing to forgive. But everybody from Dave Gahari to Robert Workman want me to apologize. And I'm like, what do you want me to apologize for? Jim Fetzer's running around lying that I'm 86 years old, that I should be put in jail. And then Dr. Shiva's lying about shit about me too. I'm like, since when is it the job of the person who's being persecuted, slandered, libeled to apologize for what? Like, I don't get it. And what's with all
So
these
what you're reminding me of,
what's with
yeah,
all
what
these
you're
people
reminding me of,
apologists for these people? Like that's why I don't trust anybody in the alt news media. Dave Gahari comes on. I'm very gracious to him. I'm very nice to him. And he's sending me emails and he's like, oh, defending Jim Fetzer. I'm like, wait a minute, why are you defending Jim Fetzer's lies? I invite you on my show, and I'm going to invite him back on the show again too, because I'm like, what's going on here? Like, what's happening?
so
Why
you
are
talk about,
why are us truth tellers being persecuted? So why don't I just run around just fucking lying to everybody? You know what? It's good. Let the Jews eat your kids. Let the Jews fuck your kids. Take the mRNA. It's all good for you. Jim Fetzer's PhD is worth more than Jesus's blood. Yeah, it's like, what do I have to become a liar for people to? I don't get it. Like this is none of this is making sense. I'm surrounded by a bunch of ass kissers, cocksuckers, motherfuckers, and liars. And really, I'm kind of fucking done with it.
so when you talk about severing heads, that's biblical. So David severed Goliath's head after he slew him. And Jehu had the heads of Ahab's sons brought to him in baskets. So I applaud your call for these forms of execution where the heads are removed from the bodies. And when you're talking about these people calling on you to forgive, it reminds me of that horrid Atlantic article about amnesty. They want these parasites want an amnesty because they have this simplistic notion that Christians forgive. No fuckwit, it doesn't work like that. If you want a model of forgiveness, go to Joseph in the Old Testament when he forgives his brothers. He doesn't, when he recognizes his brothers and they come to him in Egypt, and they don't know who he is. He doesn't just say, "Oh, my brothers, here are the granaries of Egypt." No, he puts them through a series of tests to see if they're genuinely repentant before he gives them forgiveness. And through that process, Joseph has his own process of forgiveness honored, but so do the brothers. If he just given them facile forgiveness, then they wouldn't have had their repentance process. He would have robbed them as well as himself. So it's almost like a dance of the Holy Spirit that's going on.
Yeah, it's very bizarre because I have no problem with forgiveness. And I've told these people who come on my show, I said, forgiveness is not a weakness. Neither is compassion or apologizing if you're wrong. But what these people are expecting me to do is apologize for pointing out the fact that these people are liars and misleading their audience.
Yeah.
What?
And being richly rewarded for it.
Yeah, like I don't understand the logic here. Like you said, forgiveness is one thing, but these people are showing no apology.
Contrition. Yeah.
They should be saying, "Hey, listen, you know what? We were wrong. You're not 86 years old. You're not stolen valor. All the things that we said about you were lies. You know, Dr. Shiva should be apologizing to me and my audience because he promised that he would come on the show not once, not twice, but three times. And so it's like weird. The mentality now of these people, and what you got to understand is like, fuck that shit, man. If I'm supposed to be in this truth teller arena and I've got to be a liar and I've got to apologize for telling the truth, I can't look at my audience and be like, oh yeah, I'm a total cuck because I want to be on Sean from SGT Report's show, or I want to be back on Stu Peters' show, or I want to be back with Jim Fetzer and Dr. Shiva. Please grace my audience with your presence. I've said it before. I'll say it again. If you're a satanic Christian and you get upset by what I'm about to say, go fuck yourself.
Well, we know a tree by its fruit. And the fruit that I have, since I've known you for several months, the fruit is that you are true to your word. You let your yes be yes and your no be no. Contrast that with, for instance, James Dellingpole, another podcaster, who emailed me in November of last year to say I would be on his show, and he has ghosted me ever since. As you know, Richard Vobes was supposed to do a part 2 with me, and I haven't heard anything from him either. Where is that let your yes be yes and your no be no?
Brother, that's all I
Anyway,
got. You know, I can't speak for you, but all I got is my word. My word is my
yeah,
bond. That's the wealth
yeah,
that I have. And people who know me, if you say you're coming on my show, I contact you the day before and I let you know, hey, listen, you know, we're still on, and so yeah, I respect my guests. So
you
it's really
do.
weird that I have these people expecting me to apologize. I got nothing wrong with apologizing, but like, since when do I let people mistreat me and my audience? Because it's not just me they're mistreating. When you come on and you insult me and my audience, you know, I'm standing up for my audience as well. They should have uh, 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 they should have a stake in this as well. People, they can be spending their time doing anything. They spend their time listening to this show. I appreciate that. And so I'm standing up for them just like I'm standing up for me.
Agreed. So I want to press on to this next part of it, because I'm talking about Moloch and the ninth circle. So this is a secret society that was brought to my attention by Kevin and Annette, who we just talked about. And the motivation that's encapsulated by investigative reporter Lara Logan, quote, "For them, the younger you are, the closer you are to God, the more pain they can inflict on God. So the more you can make a baby or a small child suffer, the greater your victory over God. And that is the only consideration for them." So the ninth circle is the Vatican and it's the royal families. And so this is, again, Kevin Annette explains that the ninth circle refers to the ninth circle of hell in Dante's Inferno, where people go when they have betrayed a sacred trust, the trust of a child, for example. Participation is mandatory for anyone wishing to become pope. Children, quote, "Children are brought in, ritually tortured, raped, and killed, and then they're cannibalized and the body parts eaten, because it's believed, like in the Catholic Mass, that by consuming the blood and body of the innocent, whether Christ or a child, you're given eternal life, and it's also used to entrap politicians and judges." So doesn't that go a long way to explain the coordination that we have seen across various nations during the COVID era? And doesn't it go to explain how these people can act as psychopaths? And doesn't it go to explain how they can casually desecrate their public oaths?
Yeah, I mean, it's just astonishing that the average person doesn't understand the level of evil that we're dealing with. I saw evil when I was in the military, and people say, oh, he was scarred by it. I wasn't scarred by it. I was inspired by it. By staring evil in the face, I realized that evil is a fucking coward. The thing about evil is that it doesn't realize that you will fight back. And if anything, what the world is realizing with Iran, and God bless Iran, is that Israel is evil, and
Fake Israel.
Iran is fighting back. And that's the thing. Evil doesn't believe that anybody can like fight back against it, but you know, the world is fighting back. So if anything, I hope that Iran sets the example for the whole world to just wake the fuck up. Because evil is not going to win this. We need to fight back.
So in 1964, Queen Elizabeth abducts 10 native children from Kamloops School in Canada. So
Of
this is,
course.
again, Kevin
Yeah.
Annette. 8 are ritually slaughtered. The other 2 are taken to Carnarvon Castle, Wales, and butchered by the Ninth Circle in 1966.
Yeah, God
That
save
was when Charles, that was when Charles Saxe-Coburg, also known as Charles Windsor, or now King Charles, was initiated into the Ninth Circle. In 2010, Charles orders the assassination of William Coombs, a native man who was the only eyewitness to the abductions perpetrated by Elizabeth. On February 24, 2011, William Coombs is forcibly detained by the RCMP in Vancouver and incarcerated against his will in St. Paul's Catholic Hospital. 2 days later, he dies of arsenic poisoning, according to his attending nurse. So now we come on to fake Israel. Moloch is the reigning deity of fake Israel, which wears his badge as its flag, the Star of Remphan. Hence the relish in torturing and slaughtering Palestinians in Gaza, especially children, even flaunting their inventive atrocities in genocide porn. We see this military carnage. Why don't we see? So we see this military carnage overseas. Why don't we see the medical carnage of children at home? So I venture to suggest.
It's willful blindness. It's willful blindness. People are not wanting to see the evil that's in front of their face. I think you're right. Part of it has to do with the fact that they're putting stuff in the water, they're spraying stuff in the sky, they're brainwashing people with the movies. It's all the video games are all violent and everything. So they've really brainwashed everybody. It's I'm s- I do
Well, it's
apologize
also
if you
it's that, but
being
it's
upset,
also
but I'm
the
upset.
propaganda. Yeah,
You know, I'm upset. I'm showing righteous indignation for those people who don't understand what that is. It means because I got people telling me that God is going to send me to hell for saying fuck. Are you fucking kidding me? God's going to send me to hell because I'm fucking pissed that people are fucking and eating babies? Go fuck yourself.
I would venture that God doesn't give a fuck about your use of the word fuck.
Yeah, I mean, for fuck's sake, people, worry about the real things instead of worrying about the shit that I'm saying, with these foul mouths. I get it. I wish I didn't have to say it, but I'm pissed.
So I venture that the reason that we see the military carnage is because it's overseas, and we're made to feel we can't do anything about it and are subjected to watching this satanic ritual. But when it comes to the medical carnage, if we see video footage of spontaneous abortion or of a baby dying at its mother's breast, or going into seizure after receiving one of these infernal injections, well, we do have more agency. We have more agency to withhold our bodies or the bodies of our children from receiving these weapons. So the spirit of Jezebel reigns again today in fake Israel. So this is what I was talking about before. Jezebel contriving to have an innocent man stoned to death. Today, the Satanic kingdom falsely accuses Palestinians, kills them for it, takes over their olive groves and other possessions, lives in their houses, and squats on their land. So I've talked about the secret societies, you've talked about the Jews. What do they have in common? Well, first of all, they have the Moloch worship in common. They also culminate in Trump, who is both a Freemason, while he is feted by the Israel Heritage Foundation, which calls him the Prince of Peace, in a blasphemy to both true Israel and a blasphemy to Christians. And also we see them coming together in the symbolism. So I showed this last week. That central image is of the Freemason Lodge in Edinburgh, which has the Star of Remphan above that window. On the left and right, we have the square and compass of the Freemasons integrated with the Star of Remphan, the Israeli flag, the fake Israel flag. And there, the correspondence is made more explicit in a book cover. Which brings us to the seed war. Now, this is something that Dustin Nemos talks about. After Adam and Eve ate the fruit, God told the serpent, I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. Corruption of mankind's genetic code followed when rebellious angels raped daughters of men and produced monsters and giants, and their offspring are operating in the world today. More recently, the COVID shots, laced with corrupting genetic material, were another attack on the seed of Eve, so that, as Dustin Nemos infers, the purpose of Operation Warp Speed was to warp the seed. Now, this is a prophecy from Daniel 8. There shall arise a king of shameless countenance. Some translations say fierce countenance, wise in dark speakings. He shall be mighty and strong, but not in his own strength. He shall destroy above measure, and all he goeth about shall prosper. And he shall slay the holy people, and through his policy falsehood shall prosper. His heart shall be proud, and by peace he shall destroy many. He shall stand up against the prince of princes, yet he will be destroyed, though not by human hand. So, Victor Hugo, if I were to ask you, tell me of a man who is shameless, who lies all the time, and is proud hearted and destroys in the name of peace, who comes to mind?
Trumpstein, Donald Trumpstein, who Dustin Nemos and I have been shunned and blacklisted for daring to warn people about him.
And something occurred to me. I saw in a kind of waking vision Trump strapped to a bomb that was falling to earth. And the bomb landed on the ground, but it didn't blow up. And when he landed on the ground, a giant clubbed him to death. And I thought, oh, not by human hand. So I infer that Trump is going to be killed by a Nephilim, one of the descendants of this union between angel and the daughters of men. He's
Well,
going to be killed by a member of the Nephilim race.
the way I see this is as a script and a screenwriter, knowing that he is on IMDb and he's been in movies like Home Alone and also in the Hall of Fame with the World Wrestling Federation. Again, the Mossad agent who went on CBS News 60 Minutes said, "We are the producers, we are directors, we are the screenwriters, we have the actors, we set the stage. The world is our stage. You are watching a film." The film was, and it's a real shitty movie, but this is how it goes. Trump gets in, he makes America great again. Everybody's like, great. Then they have to do a humiliation ceremony. So they steal the election and they have President Pedo Pete Poopy Pants come in, Biden, who doesn't do anything. They're finding out that basically he didn't even sign anything. It was all auto signed. They infiltrated with a bunch of Jews who opened the borders to allow the sleeper cells to come in so that they can destroy the United States. That's the whole thing. You have to destroy, you don't. And then after they bring the United States through a tremendous humiliation ceremony, they bring Trump back in. Trump didn't win anything. He was selected. He was going to win even if nobody voted. That's why I was telling people don't vote. So then he comes in and notice how everything he's changed. At first, he was bragging about being the peace president, that he would be able to end the war in the Ukraine with one phone call in an hour, that he would be about peace. No, he's doing everything that the Jews who are writing this screenplay have done. Now, he's painted himself into a corner because he said that if anything happens to him, if he gets assassinated, to attack Iran, because Iran's the one that did it. So you just heard Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday say that Iran is going to assassinate Trump. So now one of two things are going to happen. They're either going to really assassinate Trump this time, not that bullshit that they did at Butler, Pennsylvania. I don't know if you saw this, Abdiel. The other day, I was nicked and I was
Yeah.
bleeding like profusely. For 2 days, I had to have something on my face to stop the bleeding. Meanwhile, he gets shot in the ear and he's like fine, like no blood on his hands. He lied about that to the audience that he had blood on his hands. It's just such theater. And then, so there's two things that are going to happen. Either he's going to really get killed, like the Jews killed JFK because they hate Trump. But remember, Trump owed everything to the Rothschilds because they bailed him out with his Taj Mahal in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And he's leveraged. That's why he doesn't want the dollar to collapse either, because basically all his wealth is built on debt because he's got properties. He doesn't own shit. So if they assassinate him, he's dead. Okay, and they'll put J.D. Vance in, who's a puppet of Peter Thiel, and he's easily manipulated.
Or
Or
or he'll have another. Go on.
or or they will fake his death, and he'll go live somewhere like with Jeffrey Epstein on an island or something where they send the people who are in the witness protection program, and he'll live out the rest of his life, doing whatever it is that he wants to do. There's plenty of places on this earth where you can hide. I know, and there's remote places where you can hide. You could just disappear. So those are the two things that they got going on right now. But
There's a third one.
he's going to be out of the picture. What's the third one?
The third one, he has a miraculous resurrection.
Oh yeah.
So
Yes.
yeah, I mean that's in Revelation 13. The beast appeared to have a fatal wound, but
Yeah.
he recovered miraculously, and
The
the
reason
beast
why I
coming
don't
out.
think the reason why I don't think that's going to be him is because he's too old. I think the Antichrist is going to be younger. That's just my opinion. I don't. Dustin Nemos thinks he's,
I don't know.
but I think the Antichrist is going to be younger than that.
Well, I'm not clear on whether he's the Antichrist or not, but he certainly ticks boxes for being the man of lawlessness, otherwise known as the son of perdition, and
Yeah.
this king of shameless countenance.
Yeah. He's definitely not a good guy for sure.
So I have, again, this is on a Substack article. I've written a piece called Your Trump Quiz, and it has 20 plus questions about Trump, and no magatard has come back to me with any answers to these questions. He who hailed Operation Warp Speed. So the Trump quiz begins, did Trump on the campaign trail in 2016 say he would bring back a hell of a lot worse than waterboarding?
He
Which is
did.
a form of torture. It's a form
Yes.
of torture where they bring someone to the verge of drowning repeatedly. And the Eighth Amendment of the Bill of Rights prohibits cruel and unusual punishment. So the question is, has Trump even read the Bill of Rights? I doubt it. So here we are. This is a tweet put out by the White House, I think. The king of shameless countenance. Trump calls himself the chosen one. As I said before, the Israel Heritage Foundation awarded him this menorah and called him the Prince of Peace. This is blasphemy, both to true Israel and to Christians, because, quote, a child is born to us, a son is given to us, and authority will be on his shoulders. He will be named Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Eternal Father, Prince of Peace. So this is the prophecy from Isaiah chapter 9, speaking of the babe who will be born in Bethlehem. So, in calling himself the Prince of Peace, I have worked as an English teacher, and whenever I want to describe irony, which is when the implied meaning is opposite to the surface meaning, I like to quote this one from Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, where they talk about shedding blood and having red weapons, and waving our red weapons o'er our heads, let's all cry out peace, freedom, and liberty. As ironic as it gets. So we had a comedy duo disguised as a presidential debate. So did you ever watch Pinky and the Brain, Victor Hugo?
Yes.
Okay, so every week it begins that the new episode, and Pinky says to Brain, "Oh, Brain, what are we going to do tonight?" And Brain says, "Same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world." "Oh, are we going to do that, Brain?" And then Brain says what his scheme is for that week, and then Pinky says, "Oh, naff." So this is what we had with the so-called presidential debate. We had Pinky and the Brain. It was a comedy duo, and Trump was playing the straight man to Biden's clown. Clearly, that clown is an actor. If I go to the next slide, it's pretty obvious that the old Biden is not the Biden that appeared in that debate. The one on the right doesn't even have the wrinkles you would expect of that age, suggesting he is wearing a mask. So this was all theater. And then we have the magic bullet of Butler, the purported assassination attempt of July 13th, 2024. I have worked in theater. I have done stage combat. Whenever you want to sell an injury, you do it on the upstage side. In other words, the side that the audience cannot see. We, as the audience viewing that video footage of the purported assassination, did not see what happened on the upstage side. Those behind Trump did see at least some of it, but they were so bored by the whole thing that they barely reacted when the assassin's bullets rang out. So my question is, what take were they on? Were they on the 10th take or the 12th take? Also, Trump miraculously turning his head to look at the billboard to his right just before the shots rang out. Well, it wasn't just before, because he was talking about that billboard and saying the same thing 2 or 3 times, suggesting to me he was extemporizing until the cue, because that was his cue for the shots to ring out. So the cue was late, and so he had to extemporize and say the same thing 2 or 3 times.
Not only
We
that,
had
but
those
I recently saw the footage again, and the women that he had as his protective force, they were shorter than him. They actually
yeah.
gave him enough time to raise his fist, look at the crowd, and yell, fight back, or whatever, fight, fight, fight. It was just so
Yeah.
staged. It was so staged. In a real scenario, they would not have allowed that to happen because they would have figured that there were multiple shooters. Also, the way that the government works, if they want you dead, he would have been dead. There would have been more than
Of
one
course.
shooter. They washed off the roof immediately afterwards. They got rid of all the evidence. I mean, it's just, it boggles my mind how, the other day I had this guest on again, Dave Gahari, and I felt kind of embarrassed because on the one hand, I'm like touting him. And I'm like, oh yeah, I was like touting him. Now I feel like an idiot because the people who were in the comment section, they said right off the bat, I equated the fact that my cheek was bleeding. I said, that makes me realize how fake the assassination was. And like within the first 5 minutes of the interview, he was like, no, 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 that assassination attempt was real. And people were like, you know what? I stopped watching it because at
I'm
that
out.
moment
Yeah.
I realized this
Yeah.
guy discredited himself. So
Yeah.
it's really weird. People ask me like how I do this. I invite people onto my show and I let them speak. I don't always agree with everything that they say, you know, but sometimes, like, as I'm having this conversation with some, put it this way, people, you're at a bar, you meet somebody for the first time. A lot of times that happens, right? With Abdiel, I've already done a number of shows with him, so like I feel comfortable with him. But when you meet someone for the first time at a bar, you're not grilling them, you're just having a conversation. Then, after you leave the bar, certain things come into your mind about the conversation that you had with the person that you just met. And then you're wondering, like, was that person full of shit or were they real or should I bother to see that person again? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what happens with me with this show. Person comes in, first 5 minutes, tells me that he believes that Trump, really had that. Same thing happened with SGT Report and X22 Report, all these shows. They swear that it really happened. I'm like, man, I can't really trust you anymore if either you're lying to me or you're stupid. And so I don't know, what do I do? I'm 5 minutes into an interview with the guy. Do I kick him off my show for being an idiot? Or do I keep going on with it? I got a show to do. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Give me a
So
break,
as you
people.
said, yeah, the those exos were posing as Secret Service agents. Those girls didn't know where to
Totally.
holster their weapons,
Yeah, yeah. It was
and
it was
so these, of course, I mean, I would someone like Ollie Damigard, who is very well versed in all these false flag events, would do a a forensic analysis of this whole thing, but these are some of the perspectives that I can add from my experience as an actor. And I also, when you talk about the crisis acting industry, it's a huge industry. And there's if anyone wants to look it up, there's a company called crisiscast.com based in the UK. But I also discovered another crisis actor. And has this screen come up?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
I've
so
heard.
this is
Yeah, this chick.
so so this is a public service announcement put out by Intermountain Healthcare. They're the biggest hospital network in Utah and Idaho, that sort of area. And she is saying, this is August 2021, she's saying that 99% of the patients in the hospital are unvaccinated. And her purported name is Kayla McDonald, RN. So she has quite distinctive coloring. She's got red hair, a parting on her right. She's got gray-green eyes. And of course, so this aroused my suspicions. And I thought, let me just have a look around and see if there is a Kayla McDonald actress. And da-da-da-da-da-da. Kayla McDonald, red hair, gray-green eyes, parting on the same side. The two Kaylas appear to be one and the same. Now, this is a 3-minute video. Shall I play it or shall I just move on?
Yes, please play it.
Okay, so let me know if the sound comes out all right, because I don't know. You can tell me.
Okay.
Actually, it might not, because I'm using headphones. So you might just...
Well, let's try it. Is it playing?
So did you hear anything? No. Okay. So I think just if anyone wants to hear that bit, it's a 3-minute video I made about these two women being the same. Kayla McDonald, RN, Kayla McDonald, actress, with her IMDb page and so on. What's it back here?
Yeah, it's a shame.
And then there's the...
Again, we talk about soul currency. These people who do this stuff, these crisis actors, everything from Sandy Hook to the Boston bombing to the whole Trump assassination thing, they sold their souls because the world changed because of those events. And these people are running around holding on to that secret. It's just disgusting. These people are such sellouts. Those are also people that I believe need to be decapitated, tried and decapitated, because really they're a detriment to humanity. They may not even be human. If you're willing to whore yourself out like that, I mean, the world changed. That might have been why Trump was elected, by the way, because everybody was like, wow, this guy's amazing. Hey, what a cunt. What a cunt. She's a cunt.
And he's been... Yeah. And Trump has been bolstered by the divine providence narrative. So the idea that it was because of divine providence that he turned his head at the time. So what's the first missing letter you thought of when I showed you this photo?
Yeah. F. It's hilarious. Yeah. Can you believe, by the way, Abdiel, I had people who unsubscribed from my channel because they said they thought I was faking the Band-Aid that I had on, that I was trying to be like Trump.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
Of all the things to unsubscribe for. Wow.
I mean, but not only that, it's like weird that people have like such a mental illness that they don't believe anything. Like everything is a conspiracy now, you know? I mean, I
Yeah,
don't know
it
what
can be. Yeah, I mean, we can go too far the other way. So this is where discernment comes in.
like what the hell would
And then
I'm putting a Band-Aid on my face? I don't get it. I don't quite understand.
so this is something more obvious. This is Eric Trump
Yeah.
flashing, flashing the Illuminati. So I captioned it, "Honey, please stop."
Yeah.
And I wonder if that is that Ivanka on the right there.
Yeah, and she's with the Jew Jared, who Yeah. And then look at Marco Rubio in the back. That guy's a total sellout.
Uh,
I was contacting him and warning him years ago. I have all the faxes and emails to prove it. He's no good. Trump surrounded himself with the least honorable people in his administration. It's so disgusting.
so I think Ivanka there is giving him the eye, like, can you stop already or cut it out? Or so he's
They
got
don't
two women telling him to stop right there.
they don't care. They're flaunting it at this point. They really
Well,
believe
the
that.
next he did stop doing that sign after they motioned to him. Now, this is a thumbnail from your friends at Redacted News. So this was when they had James Roguski going on. So James Roguski, he was exposing the truth of the WHO pandemic treaty. But the image they put on their thumbnail was not of James Roguski, it was of Trump ripping up a treaty. That fierce countenance, fake hero, and then he's even got that laurel wreath going on behind him.
Yeah.
And as you famously said, you were redacted on redacted.
Yeah. So sad. So fake.
The following day, Mike Adams, it was by the grace of God that bullet missed Trump's skull. You've got the counterfeit holy entourage. You've got that lying piece of shit pastor Brandon Biggs, who there was a convenient video that surfaced that was recorded a
Yeah.
few months earlier that
Yeah.
saying
Yeah.
that Trump would have a bullet in his ear, and then after that, Trump would be on fire for Jesus. So if Trump were on fire for Jesus, he'd be on his knees in the Oval Office, weeping and begging for forgiveness for putting millions of people to death with his warp speed beautiful products.
Which he still has not apologized for.
No. So this business of surrounding Trump with fake Christians is straight out of Shakespeare's Richard III, because Richard has murdered his way towards becoming King of England, but he just needs that little push to get him over the threshold. So his henchman is Buckingham, the Duke of Buckingham, and he says to Richard, I'm going to visit you with a delegation. When we show up with that delegation, we need to find you on your knees in prayer. Get a prayer book in your hand and stand betwixt two churchmen, good my lord, for on that ground I'll build a holy descant. So what's playing out with Trump is what played out with Richard III in Shakespeare's imagination, surrounding
Yeah.
himself with fake clergy. And there
Yeah.
he is, lo and behold, they're laying hands on him. Paradoxically, he's got the menorah right in front of him, and there they are bestowing their fake blessings from fake Christians.
Yeah.
So I'm coming to the closing part of this now, with the outcomes that are prophesied. So we talked about the destruction of Pharaoh's 1,000,000-man army in the Red Sea. So this is one of the prophecies. Isaiah 49 encapsulates everything that is happening right now. So I encourage everyone to read it. And these are the last two verses from Isaiah 49. So I'm going to spoil the plot a bit here. Captives will be taken from warriors, and plunder retrieved from the fierce. I will contend with those who contend with you, and your children I will save. I will make your oppressors eat their own flesh. They will be drunk on their own blood as with wine. Then all mankind will know that I, the Lord, am your Savior, your Redeemer, the mighty one of Jacob. So the oppressors eating their own flesh, drinking their own blood, this sounds to me like a secret society ritual gone horribly wrong. It sounds like a Freemason clusterfuck. And in addition to whatever we do to bring down the tyrants and the parasites, the greatest act of destruction, I would suggest, is when they turn on each other. as they are prophesied to do. There will also be, this is another quote from Kevin Annett. If you're in the higher echelons, you're all standing there naked, covered in the blood of your victim. He's talking about the ninth circle again here. They go into the ceremony, and if you're not willing to rape and torture and violate these little newborn babies, you're instantly killed yourself, your throat is cut, and your blood is used. So they are willing to kill each other and will be killing each other en masse. There will also be a sudden and massive downward transfer of wealth. This is from the book of Job 27. Here is the fate God allots to the wicked, the heritage a ruthless man receives from the Almighty. Though he heaps up silver like dust and clothes like piles of clay, what he lays up, the righteous will wear, and the innocent will divide his silver. The house he builds is like a moth's cocoon, like a hut made by a watchman. He lies down wealthy, but will do so no more. When he opens his eyes, all is gone. And this from 1st Enoch. Fear not the sinners, ye righteous, for the Lord will deliver them into your hands, that ye might execute judgment upon them according to your desires. So, for instance, you said that Peter Marks resigning from the FDA is not for justice. What if Peter Marks were before me and I'm executing judgment upon him? And I have the evidence. The FDA in May 2021 knew that there was a spontaneous abortion rate of more than 90% among pregnant women who received the COVID shot. But in May of 2022, a year later, Marks is telling pregnant and breastfeeding women that there is currently no evidence that any vaccines cause fertility problems in either women or men. So it's an open and shut case.
Yeah.
That man is guilty. So I would say to him, you will be brought before a common law trial, and the jury has the option of passing sentence of daily COVID injections until your death, or of sedation with midazolam or remdesivir combined with hookup to a ventilator, or you can opt for a merciful death today. And again, this is an Old Testament precedent, what I would do with Dr. Peter Marks. Ultimately, vengeance is the Lord. So this is where the Kung Fu Jesus comes in. I'll just quote the last bit of this quote. The wrath of the Lord of spirits resteth upon them, and his sword is drunk with their blood. So if anyone wants to get the full analysis, it's on my Substack. It's a 3-part article called Prayer to Slaughter Tyrants. I explain also how the United Nations has signed its own death warrant. And I was going to do an intercessory decree, but we've been here for quite a while now, and I want to do something a little bit different. I want to share the message I sent to the White House last week to Donald Trump. So anything you want to say before I do that, Victor Hugo?
No, but if you can take us out with the prayer, that would be great.
Okay. So this is the message to the White House, sent through the White House portal. Destruction befalls any who impedes immediate delivery of this message to Donald J. Trump, who assumes the title of president. Then, Donald Trump, forget everything I have previously written to you and your predecessors. From heaven I unmask you, that you are unmasked on earth, so that all shall know who you are and what you are and what you have done and whom you serve, then I decree your downfall and destruction, that you are destroyed on earth, along with all you have been taking orders from and all you have been giving orders to. In the meantime, I enforce the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, over everything you order, decree, or declare. Also, in the authority I have over you and all of government, I compel you to shut down all funding for wind and solar energy farms and for all other harmful technologies, to break all ties with the World Health Organization and the international health regulations, and to sever all support and funding for the state, government, and military that have usurped the name of Israel. All this is decreed in heaven before the throne of the Most High and before the Son of Man, Jesus Christ, and is now effected on earth. Sincerely, Abdiel LeRoy.
Holy cow. So you should be expecting a knock on the door from the goons that work for him.
Well, this is the thing. So remember, I quoted, resist the devil and he will flee from you. It
Yes.
wasn't resist the devil and he will destroy you. So I
Yeah.
take that scripture to heart when I do these things.
Yes. Well, good for you. That's bravery. The people who watch this, if you want to know what it is that you can do and how you can be effective, let this serve as an example. Words do have power. And Abdiel, you certainly know how to wield that power with the words in the decrees that you put out into the universe.
Thank you, brother. So I'll just finish up with this is the list of the books that I have been inspired by. I've written some 30 books in total, but this is a selection of them for the ones I use most in this presentation. So,
And again, the description section of this video, which you can find on my channels, go to victorhugocollection.com, scroll to the bottom of the page. You'll find the links to BitChute and Rumble, but I also upload these on Brighteon, on Odyssey, and on Goyim TV. I suggest highly that you download these and then share them with your family, your friends, your neighbors, and your pets, and get the word out. We need to collectively rise up, be brave, be bold, live without fear, and change the world that we're living in right now because it's a cesspool. We're swimming in lies, and it's not good, people. So thank you, Abdiel, for sharing your time. It's the most precious gift we have. Thank you for creating this presentation. I'm honored that you were able to share it with me and the audience. And if you can please take us out with the prayer. Again, people, you will find in the description section the links to where you can purchase the books and where you can find the work of Abdiel LeRoy.
we stand now before the throne of the Most High, clothed in the righteousness of Jesus Christ, where I bow to my brother Victor Hugo Vaca Jr. with respect for the courage and integrity that brought him to this place, doing the work of the Holy Spirit. Be thou, O Lord of spirits, a lamp to his feet. From heaven we bestow upon him provision, protection, prosperity, empowerment, encouragement, and restoration, that he is protected, empowered, and restored on earth. And we decree with heaven's enforcement that the righteousness of his causes shall shine like the midday sun. And finally, that today those with eyes to see saw, and those with ears to hear heard. So be it. Agreed. And alleluia.
So be it. Hallelujah. Thank you so much, Abdiel, for those powerful words. Thank you to all of those who join us in those decrees. Thanks to all those who recite those decrees over and over again. A lot of people download that and they say these decrees in their daily lives. They're very powerful. Thank you again, Abdiel. Thank you to Curtis Griffin for hosting this show. Tomorrow, I will be hosting Dustin Nemos. This Friday, I will be hosting and moderating a debate between Dustin Nemos and Curtis Griffin. So we've got a lot of really great guests and shows coming up. Thanks to everybody who has visited the victorhugocollection.com and clicked on the donate button to keep these shows coming. I answer to you. You are my sponsors. And remember, everybody, united we stand, divided we fall. Never give up. Never surrender. Keep shining. Live, love, flow.